What would you do if your life was bound to the whims of a ruler, someone who, though possessing the power to shape history, could destroy you with a single word? Picture this. The grand walls of a palace glittering under the golden sun, lush gardens where secrets bloom, and hidden chambers where the lives of men and women intertwine with dangerous desire. Inside this forbidden world, where power is often more fragile than porcelain, a strange group of individuals hold more influence than you might imagine. Welcome to the Forbidden City, Beijing, the heart of China's imperial dynasty, a place where grand palaces rise above the city like towers of stone and history, where silk robes brush against marble floors, and where political intrigue dances hand in hand with forbidden desires. Here, eunuchs, men whose bodies had been transformed, held a unique and dangerous power. They were at the emperor's side, nestled in his private chambers, eyes and ears of the empire. But in this world of opulence and treachery, nothing is as it seems. For beneath the surface of beauty and prestige lies a twisted web of survival, manipulation, and sexual exploitation. Would you be willing to risk everything to gain favor in this world? Would you sacrifice your very identity to secure power? In this episode, we're opening the door to a world few have seen, and fewer still have dared to understand. This is the tale of the forbidden lives of the eunuchs, male concubines, and those who wielded them as tools of power and pleasure within the walls of the Forbidden City. The Imperial Palace, the Forbidden City, Beijing. Step inside the Forbidden City, an entire world locked away behind towering walls of red, guarded by countless soldiers. Within its depths lay the beating heart of imperial power. The sprawling courtyards, gilded halls, and lush gardens were the stage where the complex dramas of politics, love, and betrayal played out in shadowy corners. As the home of the emperor and his countless concubines, the Forbidden City was a fortress, a sanctuary, and a prison. It was here that the emperor's most intimate moments were shared with those who had no official power, but somehow wielded the most dangerous influence, the eunuchs. These men, surgically altered and rendered impotent, occupied a paradoxical space within the palace. They were neither fully men nor fully women, neither servants nor royalty, but in their strange position of service, they controlled the lives of both. Can you imagine living within these walls, walking silently behind the emperor, knowing the intimate details of his desires, his thoughts, and perhaps even his deepest secrets? The eunuchs had access to the emperor's private chambers and to his concubines, standing as the bridge between political intrigue and personal intimacy. Their very existence was dangerous, a tightrope walk between loyalty and ambition, love and betrayal. The Forbidden City, originally constructed between 1406 and 1420 during the Ming Dynasty, became the epicenter of China's imperial authority. The emperors of the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, and later the Qing Dynasty, 1644 to 1912, ruled from this architectural marvel, which housed not only the emperor, but his entire court. Behind its massive walls, power struggles, secret relationships, and deadly manipulations unfolded daily, often at the hands of those few who had intimate access to the emperor, the eunuchs. Think it was just politics behind those red walls? Think again. Bodies paid the highest price. The role of male concubines and eunuchs. The path to becoming a eunuch in the Forbidden City was not for the faint-hearted. Boys, often from poor families or captured during raids, were sold or traded into a world they could never escape. They were castrated at a young age, their bodies altered forever to ensure they could never produce heirs. For the emperor, the eunuchs were both servants and guardians of the imperial bloodline. They were trusted to serve without the threat of ambition that might come from a man with his own heirs. Yet this process, this horrifying alteration, was not always purely about control. In fact, some eunuchs became much more than just servants. With beauty and charm, some ascended from being mere attendants to becoming the emperor's confidants, lovers, and even the emperor's eyes and ears within the court. The line between eunuch and concubine became blurred, With some eunuchs living in luxury, their lives entwined with the emperor's most powerful figures. The practice of castrating young boys to serve as eunuchs dates back to earlier Chinese dynasties, but it became particularly entrenched during the Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644. During this period, eunuchs were often recruited from impoverished families who had little choice but to sell their sons into servitude. These boys were castrated in adolescence and trained in court etiquette, language, and the subtleties of palace politics. Some were selected for their beauty and charm, becoming personal attendants or secret lovers to the emperor or high-ranking officials. For some, life began with a sail and a blade. Boys were traded, stripped of manhood, reshaped into imperial property. For some eunuchs, particularly during the Ming Dynasty, the Forbidden City became more than a prison. It was a stage for manipulation, power plays, and secret liaisons. The emperor, surrounded by women of the court, often looked for emotional support and sometimes physical solace in the arms of eunuchs who were adept at gaining his trust. Can you imagine the vulnerability, the sensuality of a moment where the power dynamic shifted? Where a eunuch, so often powerless in society, became a key player in the emperor's deepest secrets, a tool of sexual manipulation, a vessel for political alliances? The rise of the eunuchs, power and influence. In the Forbidden City, whispers held more power than swords. Wei Zhongxian and Li Lianying mastered secrets, watching, listening, controlling access to the emperor. Each turned trust into influence and influence into domination. Wei, rising from poverty in the Ming Dynasty, became the chief eunuch under Emperor Chongzhen and orchestrated vast bureaucratic power. Li Lianying, during the Qing Dynasty, was Empress Dowager Cixi's confidant and gatekeeper. Both wielded unseen authority, gaining wealth and commanding loyalty. But with influence came resentment, and in the palace, downfall was always one misstep away. The forbidden desires, sexual exploitation, and emotional manipulation. Though eunuchs had been castrated, they were not immune to the intense physical and emotional needs of the human experience. For some, their roles as concubines were much more than political maneuvering. They were tools of seduction, beauty, and manipulation, men who used their charm and beauty to seduce those in power. The emperor, though surrounded by women, sometimes found solace in the arms of these eunuchs, whom he could trust without fear of betrayal. And for the eunuchs themselves, their beauty became a currency. They could gain access to wealth, political influence, and royal favor through sexual relationships that blurred the lines between power and desire. The most notorious eunuchs were often able to engage in sexual relationships with not only the emperor, but also powerful officials who found in these men an intimacy that they could not find elsewhere. Some eunuchs became secret lovers, acting as both confidants and sources of political leverage. The line between concubine and eunuch was, at times, almost non-existent. What does it mean then to be trapped between two worlds, unable to find full agency in either? A eunuch, castrated of his manhood but still bearing the desires of a man, was often left to navigate a complicated web of intimacy and exploitation, all while performing essential roles within the imperial court. Was this freedom, or was it an insidious kind of powerlessness? The downfall, scandals and retribution. The seduction worked until it didn't. When a eunuch falls, the empire bleeds with him. With power came jealousy, and with jealousy came downfall. The lavish lifestyles of the most powerful eunuchs stirred resentment among other court officials, leading to a bloody purge. The Qing dynasty, in 1661, launched a brutal crackdown on these men, executing hundreds accused of corruption and sexual misconduct. The streets were stained with the blood of those who had once been untouchable. Eunuchs like Wei Zhongxian, once masters of the court, were forced to commit suicide or face torturous interrogations. What had once been their sanctuary became their prison. What had once been a source of unrivaled influence became the cause of their undoing. The Great Purge of eunuchs in the Qing dynasty in 1661 was a direct result of the growing resentment among officials. The crackdown not only eliminated many of the powerful eunuchs, but also marked a significant shift in the imperial structure. After this, the emperor's reliance on eunuchs was drastically reduced. The legacy, hidden histories, and modern reflections. Today, the Forbidden City stands as a symbol of grandeur, a tourist attraction that hides the blood-soaked history beneath its stone walls. The legacy of eunuchs, male concubines, and imperial power struggles remains largely hidden. Yet, their stories echo through time, revealing complex layers of manipulation, survival, and sacrifice. As we look back on their lives, what lessons do we glean? The eunuch's story about the lengths one might go to for survival, the politics of the body, and the haunting, often tragic interplay between intimacy and control. In a world that demanded their silence, they found ways to make their voices heard. These eunuchs lived in a world where beauty masked brutality and desire begot control. Their survival carved shadows into the palace walls, a legacy of quiet defiance and sacrifice. Like and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the hidden tales of history.